But what was interesting was he would never, most people would come in the studio, hey, let me hear my last 8 songs I did. He never even wanted to hear the shit back. He would never, like, ever request, hey, let me hear that song. And he'd never say nothing like, hey, you know, that mix ain't right or that shit. He didn't give a crap about that. All he cared about, like he said to me once, just put my vocals real loud and turn the drums up, and I don't give a shit about anything else.
On that last night working in the studio, Pac was relaxed and having fun, but engineer Scott couldn't believe how productive he was.
So then the food and everything comes in, everyone's eating, everyone's having a good time, drinking. Next song's done. All right, I already got lyrics for it, let's go. Boom, runs in, does another lyrics on this other song.
One thing I thought was interesting, sometimes he'd write his lyrics down. When we leave, I'd look at the lyrics. There was never a misspelled word, and there was never something crossed out, like, you know, keep rewriting. It was just all the words spelled correctly.
The Outlaws start running in. Boom, 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 boom. Everyone starts going and doing their thing. All right, that's 2 songs. Let's do another one. Get another one, Damon, come on. So next you know, Damon's off in the corner doing another song. About another hour later, Pac runs in again. Let me do another verse. Da 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 da. Starts writing out. Gets on the mic and starts spitting again. So just that whole night was just memorable because of the way how professional he was.
What we got to admit in the end of the day is that the guy was incredibly talented. Bondi Curtis Hall, the director, told me that when Tupac was acting in his film Gridlock, that he was supposed to have written a kind of spoken word piece, maybe 16 bars, lines to fit in to the film. But Tupac had forgotten that he was supposed to write it the night before. So he said he sat down in 10 minutes, unerringly, without any mistakes, any misspelled words, without missing a beat, wrote a rhyme, performed it, and he said he knocked it out. He said he was stunned.
We always joke, me and Tim, that it's an action movie. We're action stars now. We running and stuff. And if you look at us, we look like the 2 most unlikely action stars in the world. It's always like we always joke like we're the new Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. I'm the Mel Gibson, he's the Danny Glover.
He was the kind of person that had so much to accomplish. I don't think he had a death wish, but I do think that he realized that he was going to die at some point at a young age, you know. I used to tell him, you talk too much about death as far as I'm concerned, it gives me the willies. But no, I think he was not totally, let's put it this way, he was happy but not satisfied. Because number one, he had so much that he wanted to accomplish, and he was really getting more and more, as I said, into the acting and also into writing and the production of films and literature, poetry and things of that nature. And I think that he was feeling that maybe his stay at death row was coming to an end, that he had accomplished as much as he could there, and that he wanted to move forward.
Tupac never got a chance to move on from Death Row Records. He completed his last Death Row album, Machiavelli, only weeks before he was killed. Since his death, hours of recordings from the past decade have been released. Given how obsessively Tupac worked, it is hard to believe that there isn't still much more to hear. The last project that he personally oversaw was the Don Columinati, the 7-Day Theory, aka Machiavelli.
Machiavelli, which we did sort of tongue-in-cheek, and it was not really to come out. And then after Tupac was murdered, it did come out, but before that it was going to be just sort of an underground thing.
Something like Hail Mary uses the bells that you would hear tolling at a funeral. And the whole Machiavelli soundtrack, I mean, it's very hard not to think he knew he was going to die.
But I'll tell you, the first time I worked with Tupac, it was a trip because I didn't know his work habits, right? And so usually in rap, like after the guys do the beat, you put the tape on cycle and everybody smokes pot and gets on the phone, pages their chicks and all that shit, and takes 3 or 4 hours to write their lyrics. So when we finished the first track, I was like, great, I can take a break. Then he comes back in, you better get in there, Tupac's mad. So I walk in, Tupac looks at me and throws his book at me with his lyrics and he's like, you motherfucker, if you ever leave this studio again, I'm gonna kick your fucking ass, right? And I'm like, dang, I was gonna smart off. Thank God I didn't, because he probably would have jacked me.
It wasn't a peace, love, and happiness vibe. It was more of get the job done, you get it right, you're concentrating. It's like pro sports, you're not, you know what I mean?
The next day he comes up with Timothy Roth, the actor. They were working on that movie Gridlocked, right? So Tupac, totally different mode. He's got his suit on, he's playing this little, he's with all these white people and he's playing, he's about as white as you could possibly get, right? And I'm still kind of pissed from the night before, but he's got this grin on his face. And then he says to me, "Bet you're glad this ain't a Tupac session, aren't you?" I said, "No, it's whack, man. I want to make a record." And he said, "From now on, you're my engineer." I said, "Okay, let's do it."
I was one of the engineers on his Machiavelli record. We got to work on 3 songs, songs 8, 9, 10. White Man's World, Me and My Girlfriend, and Crazy.
And then he walked in one day, and he said, "I just got an order from Suge to do a diss album." So now he was in his diss mode. I'm going to diss everybody on the East Coast. So we were doing that for a while, but that kind of got old, you know, because like, how many times you want to listen to somebody getting dissed?
I'm going to give the people what they want, and what they want is the real stuff that they can feel.
So then the album, which he said he had to have done in 3 weeks from an order from Suge, started to change directions from the diss stuff to the more political and social stuff.
There's sort of a flowering of his career during the mid-90s at the same time that hip-hop is kind of flowering as well within the mainstream and going global as well. And I think at the time that he died, he was becoming a really, really interesting character. I mean, the Machiavelli album on the one hand is real deep and dark, and on the other hand, he had real pop-type stuff as well that are coming out on Death Row.
We're pulling off like the Hit 'Em Up song where he's dissing Biggie, which is cool because that became a video and a single, right? So that was cool, so we got out of that one. And then we took the N.I.G.G.A.Z song off Their Friends, which I actually told him one night after I drank about 4 Hennessy's, I said, "You actually sound stupid dissing Nas for 3.5 minutes." He looked at me like I was crazy, right? I said, "Take it off the album." The 4 Hennessy's kind of helped on that one.